been down, and they were much weaker than had originally been reported. We look at earnings reports and look at their revenues, and we're seeing a lot of companies showing negative revenues. So, the headline numbers are heavily influenced recently, certainly in terms of some of the upward revisions in personal income by transfer payments, that's government stimulus, and interestingly, dividends. But not if you look at the economy, the cyclical part of the economy is sick. It's sick. If you look at the sectors in the economy, one by one, they've been falling into a recession, no matter what the headline numbers say. Housing went down immediately when the Fed started raising rates. We're down 20 to 40% still. That's a recession. You've got non-residential construction in recession, autos. Very weak.
Cathie, I know it's a backward-looking number, but then what do you make of today's payrolls report? 254,000 jobs added to the economy for the month of September. And that doesn't seem recessionary.
So if you just let me finish, Tim, I'll get to that in 1 minute. So we've got those sectors, and then you've got the small and medium business sector. Their confidence jack prices back up. It was very interesting to see FedEx, after turning positive in revenues and then turning negative year over year on revenues, basically saying they're going to use prices to make it up. I think that's going to backfire. And I think during the next year, that many people will understand how deflationary the undercurrents are in the economy. Now, deflation is not always bad. Part of it is because of innovation, technologically enabled innovation. The car prices, EV prices are coming down. Their costs are coming down too. So I think there's a lot of confusion in terms of what's going on out there because productivity is stronger than expected, giving companies the latitude to cut prices and salvage margins. If that sustains, great.
Cathie, when we talked with you earlier this year, let's go back to March for a moment. You mentioned the possibility of inflation going negative this year. You also talked about unemployment going above 5%. Are those still your calls?
Yeah, this year, we're going to have to push it out because inflation did levitate as companies tried to price to make up for shortfalls in unit growth. It levitated in the 3.5% to 4% range. Now it's broken below 3%. And
this dynamic, in your view, changes whether President Trump is reelected or we see a Harris administration.
And I wonder who you would support too, in terms of what you think is good for the U.S. economy and America.
Okay, so our focus is on innovation, and something very important happened this past year. We were very concerned that excessive regulation was driving innovation off our shores, particularly when it came to crypto or digital assets. We've had a very hostile regulator. And the same, I would say, is true of the FTC in terms of denying M&A, because that has prevented a lot of innovative companies from enjoying liquidity events by selling out to bigger companies. I think we're hearing from both candidates that those two jobs are on the line, maybe for that reason. And we're seeing more alignment that innovation solves problems, and so we should not discourage it. So from that point of view, I'm happy to see the bipartisan are strangling this economy, strangling small business, strangling big business. That's a very important one. Well, tariffs would be harmful as well. So
fair enough. Well, let's talk innovation, which is your world. AI, big news this week. OpenAI's raising $6.5 billion in new funding, $157 billion valuation. ARK put in $250 million. The Wall Street Journal reminding us that that's the minimum amount required to open up their financial document. So why this investment? Why are you interested? And what did you learn about the company and its growth trajectory, or about the business, to be quite fair, looking at those financial documents?
Well, we've been doing research on AI for 10 years now. That's why we were so early into NVIDIA. And, we've obviously taken it down in most of our portfolios out of the flagship. One of the things that we've been looking for is the next big play. And, we think NVIDIA is still a fine stock. But in terms of the unexpected out there, is because engineers are going to be made so much more productive, developers so much more productive by OpenAI and Anthropic and xAI and Google and Meta's Llama 3. We're going to see companies customizing their own software, customizing software for their own companies, as opposed to just going automatically to, one size fits all software as a service.
Hey, Cathie, forgive me. We only have a couple minutes left, so I want to get in a few more questions here. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but you mentioned closing out your stake in NVIDIA. You did that in the flagship ARK Innovation Fund last year. But you also told us back in March that you used some of that to buy into Coinbase. Since February of 2023, Coinbase is up a bit more than 150%. No question, a great return. But NVIDIA up nearly 500% since that time. Do you regret that move last year?
If you had if I had bought both Coinbase and NVIDIA and sold something else, would I have been happier about that decision? Sure, I would have been happier. Actually, from the time we bought Coinbase, if the price came down, again, I think I must say one of perhaps my weaknesses in a momentum market is watching a lot of momentum drive the stock and realizing that a lot of people who never owned it are getting in and might be weak holders. So, that factored into my thinking, but, we enjoyed, we got into NVIDIA at 40 cents based on this stock in 2014. So, wherever we got out, we were extremely happy with it's been the third largest contributor to our flagship fund. So, tactically, sure, we would have loved to still have it, at a bigger position in the portfolios. But again, we're all about the future, and our research is focusing us on this software layer that has huge amounts of appreciation ahead.
Let's go to Tesla, number one holding in your flagship ARK Innovation ETF. It's on what gets us there. And just quickly, sorry, we've only got about 30 seconds.
Autonomous mobility, think 1010, October 10th here. That is going to focus analysts not just on EVs, but on the autonomous opportunity. Tesla is the largest AI